And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Siouxland people. We depend on various waterways for several daily functions, ranging from transporting goods to commercial fishing and recreation. Over time, these waterways become filled with sediment that makes them difficult to navigate and sometimes pose environmental hazard. On today's Open Connection, we open our archives to bring you this story from 2001.
Most of the electricity that powers Alcan's Kitimat works is generated from the company's Camano power generating station. The plant creates power by processing water from the Nechako Reservoir. According to Alcan, the Tatsuneros are a key contributor to generating enough power for the Kitimat plant and to fulfilling their other power agreements.
Probably the primary reason, or certainly one of the top two reasons why Kitimat works is where it is here on the west coast, is because of the reservoir and the ability to generate efficient hydroelectric power. So it is absolutely critical to this operation.
Up to a few years ago, Alcan had the appropriate government approvals in place to do the dredging, but chose not to. Dredging had been part of the Camano completion project.
The new facilities include a cold water release to be constructed at the Kenny Dam. A short stretch of shallow water at Tatsuneros will be deepened to ensure an increased flow of water to the Camano generating facilities. A second tunnel will be drilled through the mountains to carry water to a new powerhouse.
What you see is that what we're facing now is something that in the entire 50-year history of the operation of that reservoir we have never seen before. So this project, although it was on the books, it was kept at a lower priority level due to the fact that the weather patterns over the 50 years have indicated that it should be at a lower level. Now all of a sudden we're facing something different, something that would have been extremely difficult to predict. I don't know if it would have been possible to predict, but it certainly has changed the perspective on Tatsuneros and the water management.
The Nechako Reservoir has experienced low water levels in the past, but nothing like what occurred this fall.
There's been other times when it's been pretty low. These are the 50-year records now. Yeah. So we've been close before, but it's come back. This time there's been a number of low years in a row, and it is quantitatively different from what has happened in the past.
Not dredging in the past was not the result of tight-fistedness at Alcan's Montreal headquarters.
We're happy to see that support, but I don't think that's any change. The support has always been there. They look to us in BC to give them advice, and based on the weather patterns and the inflows into that reservoir, it was our advice up until now that this didn't look like it was the high priority that it has suddenly become.
Alcan acknowledges there are opponents to the dredging, and they should have a voice in the process.
There's no question that the reservoir is critical to Kitimat, but there's also no question that people in that area would have legitimate concerns about how we operate the reservoir and how the water is managed. So from Alcan's perspective, I don't think we're looking at them to be quiet or just let things go. We need to hear about their concerns, and in fact, we're actively seeking that kind of information.
Those opponents include the Burns Lake area's regional directors, many of whom feel that Alcan should compensate them if the Narrows are dredged.
Director Fox has told you that what we have given up and what you're asking us to give up is to support industry in the western half. And there's nothing there for us.
And there are also concerns from the Chislata Nation's forest managers, who will soon begin building a new mill on Utsa Lake, which could drop up to 17 feet if the proposal goes ahead. That could affect their underwater logging and harvesting operations.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. When artificial reservoirs and dams are built, large areas of forest are often inundated. Although trees die, the wood is often preserved. The trees can be felled using special underwater machinery and floated up to the surface. Let us return to the archives with Frank Rakoczy.
It could affect the underwater logging operations positively and negatively, I guess. It'll be easier to see the trees as the water level drops. More and more trees will be sticking out of the water, which makes it easier for us to find the tree in order to harvest it. But with that exposure of the tree to the air, any fiber that's exposed to the air after a number of years, it begins to rot and crack, and it basically, the fiber isn't that good. And so it will impact the quality of wood. We'll end up with shorter piece sizes and a less desirable quality for the mill. It'll be harder to transport the wood to the mill because as the water level drops, it will have problems hanging up in the snags that are below the water. We're also counting on that entire reservoir for transporting some of the mountain pine beetle wood.
Regional Director and Utsa Lake Representative Eileen Benedict says there are also a host of other concerns.
The drawdown in the reservoir is a big issue. What they're going to do with the area, which will be a dead zone, if they're allowed to drop the reservoir 30 feet, it'll be a maximum 30 feet fluctuation in the reservoir. There is boat navigation. How are you going to get your tours in and out of Tweedsmuir Park is a big issue. The fish habitat. There's kokanee spawning in the reach, and this is a huge issue besides the caribou and the moose migration back and forth through the reach. There are such a host of issues that I believe it's going to take a long time to get all of them out on the table.
Alcan's Kitimat Community Relations Manager Michael Schuster believes, though, that both sides are living up to the agreement.
I do know that there are different opinions about that, and it is something that people look at very cautiously. My recommendation to people is if they have a concern about that, to reread the agreement.
As for how Alcan will approach contract talks pertaining to power distribution, they'd rather not think about that for the time being.
We all live and we learn. We're just like everybody else. We have to learn as we go along.
To the question of compensation, Alcan says they have people in the field studying the impact of the dredging.
If Tots and Arrows goes ahead, Alcan has committed, first of all, before it goes ahead and before those decisions are made, to a complete process of consultation, because we know there would be people affected, and Alcan has already committed that those people need to be in at least as good a shape after Tots and Arrows as they are before. So we have to look at those issues. We understand that's a requirement of doing business, is to treat those people in that area in an appropriate manner.
Even with the dredging, there will be no guarantee that water levels in the reservoir will remain stable.
The whole point from our perspective about Tots and Arrows is that it gives us a form of insurance, but it's only a form of insurance. It doesn't stop nature from doing what it's going to do, so there's no guarantees here.
But Benedict says it was a step in the right direction, meeting with Alcan representatives, even if she and the rest of the regional district directors feel they must meet several more times.
I have the impression that this is an information gathering on Alcan's part, and the issues being brought up to them. Now they're going to have to go back and come back to the public with some sort of solutions. They call this what they say consultation. I don't really consider this consultation because this is the first time we've seen this proposal. It's brought to us. We haven't had a chance to go back and come forward with any answers or any solutions. So I find this is more of an information gathering on our part, and hopefully we will meet a few more times with Alcan and discuss this before they put this towards their assessment that they have to hand into the government.
A 6-person delegation from the Nechako Watershed Council will travel to Ottawa at the end of this month to meet with cabinet ministers about the issue. Alcan has a number of public meetings planned over the next few weeks.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. A company's mission statement defines its culture, values, ethics, fundamental goals, and agenda. The statement reveals what the company does, how it does it, and why it does it. Let us return to the archives as a local institution reviews that process.
In 1996, Northwest Community College set out their mission and value statement, a document that outlines the college's basic goals. In a new document being hailed as the college's 5-year educational plan, it sets out the parameters by which the college will achieve those goals.
The main purpose is to create a document where the communities we serve and the college are clear about where it's going in the future, and so that we create that future together. So it's not, while the end product will be paper document, we're much more interested in engaging in a process with the community.
Since Stephanie Forsyth took over the top job at the college, she's kept very busy by visiting all of the college's 10 centers numerous times. What's become very evident to her is the bitter rivalry between all of the college's centers.
There was it's almost like an infighting going on, right? Houston and Hazelton against the bad guy in Smithers, and so I guess what I was trying to do, and I think through this process we'll collectively do, is to say, let's stop doing that. It's not helping us grow, and it's actually holding us back from growing. So let's recognize that there's a good reason that maybe Smithers has a larger collection of services and programs than Houston, as a larger population, is accessible from many different directions, more than Houston is. But we may also say Houston has these strengths, and let's capitalize on those. So that's the tough part. I think once we come to a place where we acknowledge that and respect each other's differences and strengths and how we can support each other, then I think it's clear sailing.
She's confident that the infighting within the college will soon disappear because of an internal dialogue which she has instigated.
Looking at the things that have really been barriers to us not getting to the goals that they've set for themselves, 4 years ago. And addressing them in a very frank way. I think an outsider can do that. You can kind of walk in almost pledging some ignorance, right? Well, how come, you ask the hard question, how come you've been fighting for so long? What's made you do that? Where that's more difficult with someone that's been there for 10, 15 years to ask.
It appears that the direction the college plans on taking is a united effort to meet the educational needs of the region. This can only be done by identifying each community's individual strengths.
Maybe a community like, Rupert says we need to have first and second year sciences for people wanting to go on to medicine, and they'd like to have it there, but we don't have any labs or infrastructure there. We have it in Terrace. Then to engage the Northwest in a dialogue about, okay, well, can we rationalize some of the services that we offer? Is it okay to say, okay, healthcare will be in Terrace, for example. Maybe it won't be in Rupert, or maybe some parts of it will be in Rupert, but not all of it. But this will be in Rupert instead, and people in Terrace can access that in Rupert, right? Because, there's just not an infinite pot of money, unfortunately.
Those comments won't please many community health councils that have been lobbying the province and the college to reinstate nursing programs in their communities. The college is in the process of studying the inventory of resources in all of those communities to identify which communities can best utilize the program. Terrace will be the hub of the program, according to Forsyth, because of the fair degree of science labs in Terrace and a strong medical and nursing faculty there.
It makes sense to base some of those programs there, but through the dialogue with the health councils, we're hoping to find practicum sites throughout the Northwest and ways that we can offer clinical experiences to students so that they're not having to go to Terrace or even to Prince George, which has been models of the past. They've said, well, you want that, you have to go to Prince George. So that's how we're hoping to address it.
Nursing and natural resources seem to be two areas in which the college has lagged behind other post-secondary institutions. This seems to have been caused by cuts to transfer payments, but also an inability of the college in the past to adapt to the region's needs. Forsyth says the college plans on addressing the community's educational resource needs in 3 ways.
One would be that we try to address existing educational needs as we hear them from the community. And so there's got to be a process for hearing that, right? Secondly, with the community, we can look to the future. What are some emerging occupations or career opportunities? And can we design programs now, even if they might be a little bit ahead of their time? And then thirdly, what are some programs that might be unique to a specific geographic location or community?
She hopes those courses will become economic drivers for their communities. Forsyth adds the college's many missed opportunities will soon be forgotten during her tenure because of her new approach.
And that can't be the college taking a best guess at it and doing, doing some response on its own. It really needs to be a partnership with the industry. But we have to put in processes by which that interaction can happen, and I think that's what we haven't done as good a job as we should, and we're looking at improving that in the future.
Larissa Tarwick runs the Kitimat Center of the college. She supports greater input from the community about what the college provides to the residents of Kitimat.
We clearly knew we had to clean up our act here. We needed to refocus as a role as a college. I think that's why we have a new president. We also knew that the college for a number of years has kind of not been a big player in this community, and we needed to restart.
What the educational plan does not do is lay out an expansion plan for the college. Forsyth makes it very clear this document is intended to reach out to their various communities again in an effort to work together.
In my mind, it's more about meshing the goals of the college with the goals of the communities it serves, so that we're not some autonomous entity out there doing our own thing. Thank you very much. We'll tell you what you need for educational opportunities in Kitimat, but rather we're saying, talk to us about what we should be doing. We are a resource to Kitimat. So how can you best utilize the resource, and how can we best serve you?
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
The first hockey cards were included in cigarette packages in 1910. Manufactured by Imperial Tobacco Canada for their inaugural NHL season. The 1910 set had a total of 36 cards, each one featuring an illustration of a player. In this final segment of Open Connection, we return to the archives as local Kitimat resident shares other ways of obtaining hockey cards.
It's hard to put into words what exactly is in Tim Leduc's basement. Best to put it in his words.
We'll start off here, I guess. This piece here on the wall is a piece I got from Upper Deck, and McDonald's came together with all their cards that they came out with game film. As you can see, these are the films that come out first, the pieces of film before they make a hockey card. And they put them all together like this, and then before it turns out to be a card. Dan's Hockey Corner here in Kitimat, I picked that up off of him. And for a trade of a Jeremy Roenick card that I had that was a jersey card. And we sort of trade over most of this stuff. Any stuff you see in here is basically a trade-in from a hockey card or something that I've had, and trade it for some memorabilia. These are old cans that you get when you used to have hockey cards inside them. These cans here, and you used to collect them all. There's, I think, 26 cans there. There's old pictures of the Leafs that we used to get, postcards when we used to go see the Leaf games, of Jim McKenney, Earl Thompson, and Boris Salming. And there's an autograph, Keith Tkachuk, or Daniel Tkachuk, hockey player autograph. There's Bobby Orr, old cards from the 70s, Scotty Bowman, rookie card, an autograph Maurice Richard, Guy Lafleur, and Tiger Williams rookie card, Gordie Howe, an old card from back then, Peter Forsberg rookie, and also Yzerman rookie, who is one of my top favorite players, as well as Gordie Howe. There's Guy Lafleur's stick over there on the top, the Sherwood, and 78 stick, one of the goalies from the NHL. Andy Bathgate autograph stick, one of the great players of hockey's all time. And then there's a couple things that the boys have sent me from my hockey teams. Tommy Mildenberger sent me his catcher's mitt that I always put up there, and there's the stick from one of my other players from Japan. Oh, I got to show you this. This is a classic here. This is Yager's own peanut butter, his own peanut butter line. As you can see there, go figure. And also Adam Denmarsh has got his line of pickles. I picked them up. You can see. That's the Denmarsh's Delis. So there's anything that's out of the ordinary, I collect it.
Leduc started his collection many years ago in his hometown of Hamilton, Ontario.
This room here, I go back since I was a kid. Some of the stuff I got pictures of when I played hockey, and then a few things I've collected over the years. And I've gotten really into it since I started coaching again out here in Kitimat. I'm originally from Hamilton, and back there it was, you know, if you put your old cards in the bicycle wheels, and then you find out 30 years later it's worth $200. That's what I was doing back then. But now I got some of those cards back, and I've gotten serious about it and started collecting again.
And what does his family think of this addiction?
They love it. They say it's me. So you know, the kids come down here from some of the teams around in Kitimat. We've had meetings in here from my team, the Kitimat Legion Bombers, as well as the Bantam rep team. We've had I usually get a couple of parents who want to bring their kids in here, sons, and check out the room, and it's they always love it. Sometimes they don't want to leave. But it's a good thing. It's good for hockey, and, you know, and it keeps the fun in the game. That was already spoken for. The kids are right into that for sure. Yeah, they put a lot into this too. When they go to the store or something, they see little cards or something, they think of me, they just bring something home, whether it's a keychain or a card, they know I'll put it up somewhere.
The whole setup usually takes 2 days to put into place. But Leduc says it's taken much longer to accumulate his collection.
And as far as getting stuff for this room, it's took about, maybe about 15 years or so with stuff. Mostly stuff I got out here from Sonny's in Terrace and local card shops in Toronto back home. I've sent magazines, picked up magazines, bought stuff out of the magazines, a place called Frozen Pond, and started off with stuff like the peanut butter up there and the pickles I got from them, and you know, little things like that, and it just all builds up.
These are works that have been on display around the world, but it's rare they're shown in their own backyard. This month, at the Terrace Art Gallery, a show of exclusively Nishka art is available for viewing, organized around a book of photographs by Vicki Jensen. The photos document the work of master carver Norman Tate. He and his family have several items on display, such as masks, rattles, blankets, drums, and of course, totems. This past weekend, a special public reception at the art gallery welcomed visitors to the exhibit and helped bring life to the displays. The Tate family exhibit continues at the Terrace Art Gallery until September 28th. John Crawford, First News, Terrace.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection of his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.